everybody. Happy Wednesday. Happy Hispanic Heritage Month. Oh my God. I'm so excited. I even got like choked up here. What can we say? It's just been amazing, spectacular. And today I'm so excited to have Beatriz Albini-Ruiz here with me because we're gonna be talking about how do we embrace our inner jefa, which is just the perfect topic to begin Hispanic Heritage Month because we need to embrace that. Like
Oh my God.
that's what this is all about, right? Whether and I know that we're going to talk specifically in a way about entrepreneurship, but I think we need to embrace our inner jefa. Doesn't matter what we do, right?
That's
Because
so
this
true.
entrepreneurial like mindset and way to just go about things becomes so critically important. So I'm so excited to have you here today. Thank you so much, Beatriz, for being
Oh
here.
my God. Thank you for having me. And yes, I have my cafecito ready here to have this conversation. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I really enjoy being part of the Latinas, United Latinas community. I everybody that is watching is debating to join as a pay member. Please do. It's been one of the best investments that our organization had made this year, and for myself as well. So that being said, thank you again, and yeah, let's get to it.
Let's get to it. So I would love to first, there's a lot of debates out there, or not debates, because it's not a debate. It's more of curiosity
Uh-huh.
about, the word jefa and like what it means. And I would love to hear from you, like what it means to you before we jump into like your lessons that you would have learned, you would have wished to have heard of when you jumped into entrepreneurship. But before, I would love to hear, like, what does jefa mean to you?
You know, I come from a long line of very strong women in my family on the Manzano side, which is not not on my last list of last names, but you know how it is. And one thing I would say is, when I hear the word Hefa, like everybody will think about somebody as strong, resilient. But I also like the fact that a Hefa makes things work. She works with what she has. She gets lemons, makes lemonade. She gets apples, makes apple juice. You know, mango juice. But I just really like the idea of a Hefa is somebody that can create things and do and push through and be resourceful and scrappy. And I just really think is so important. Now, one thing that I wish we think more about is, give ourselves permission also to have grace and compassion, because I do feel that that word hefa is very imposing in a way, or at least is very strong. And I think we need to understand that we have to have grace with ourselves as well. So that's my hot take on the word hefa.
I love that. I love that combination of, on the one hand, making things work, because you're right. Like we are resilient by nature, and we just figure it out no matter what.
Yeah,
And the grace and compassion, because I think that also shows part of our values, right? Our
right.
cultural values of nurturing and being in this community sense of always being in the sense of familia and community and we need to bring that to ourselves as well. So I love that combination that you mentioned,
Yeah,
which makes us then, if we look at the numbers, and I keep seeing, again, it's Hispanic Heritage Month, so
yeah.
numbers are all over the place, right? And Latinas continue to be at the top of creating businesses 6 times faster than any other group, which I think talks to exactly what you're talking about. Like we just put our eyes on something and we make it work no matter what.
Yeah.
However, it doesn't come with a lot of sacrifices, with a lot of mistakes, with a lot of stumbling on things and falling down and trying to figure it out and standing up again and again. So what are the lessons that you wish you've had or somebody have told you when you decided, like, I'm leaving this other hat and now I'm going into entrepreneurship?
My gosh, yes, I love this question because that's exactly why I'm here. It's just that I want to make sure that our Latinas that are going through this journey can hopefully see this, listen to me, and just say, okay, yeah, now I know. A couple of things, understanding that, again, investing in ourselves is so important. I think a lot of us, myself included, grew up with a little bit of a scarcity around that, and that carries with us. So understanding that, how that impacts the way we show up, how that impacts also the energy that we bring into the projects that we accept. Also, how it creeps in the form of scope creep, for example, or accepting opportunities that are not really well compensated, or we are just, because for the sake of accepting or getting that foot in the door, uh, we tend to drive ourselves to the bone. And I think sometimes we just, again, need to put our Jefa shoes and say, you know what, I be more than happy to consider this, but you need to own your worth in that sense. So that's something that I wish I knew sooner. It has taken me years and years of personal growth and like personal inner work to get to understand that. The other aspect that I think is so important to really master is the numbers. We need to be better about having a business plan, and also understanding what are our numbers. Quarterly, go back to your spreadsheet and look at how you're doing. What are your metrics? Even though you're starting, I know it might sound crazy, but the more defined you have that from the start, the better your chances of success. So those are kind of like the two major, let's say, lessons for me. And this year in particular has been really an amazing transformation, because I went from being solopreneur, kind of like individual operator, to now having a bench of coaches and consultants. And now our organization, Brave Leadership Group, has a buffet of services for businesses. So it's just been understanding that you're not alone, and understanding that sometimes that scarcity mindset can creep as well as saying, like, I need to do this on my own, and it's not true in your business either. So anyway, that's my last piece.
I love everything that you said, and I want to like hone in on a couple of things. First, you talked about owning our worth.
Yes.
And that is so important, because we don't do that. We don't recognize the power, the potential, the the value that we bring to spaces. And I'm going to make like here a shameless plug, because owning your worth, it's actually the topic of our Hispanic Heritage Month conference for United Latinas on October 2nd. So check it out, because we need that. We need to do that. We need to, as Latinas, recognize the power that we have. So I love that you're saying that. And then the other thing, to your point, like setting on the one hand, having this growth mindset instead of the scarcity mindset. Mindset is critically important, and being able to ask for help, which is something that many of us struggle in terms of how to do that, because it might seem that I don't know, or maybe people will take it the wrong way, or we have all of these limiting beliefs that we tell each other. And then the stories, yes, and then the boundaries, the setting the boundaries as well, because it's like, how do we say no to something that maybe doesn't serve me, but I know it's going to serve you, and I really want to do it, but I already have this long list of things that I need to do, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to be able to do that. And the last thing is the fact that we're not alone. And that's what United Latinas is all about, right? Like, it's this community of, we're all amazing Latinas that know a lot. And if we share that knowledge with each other, then we don't have to like start reinventing the wheel again and again and again and again. So I love that you've like built your bench of coaches and started to move in that direction, because you're right, we don't have to start all of these businesses on our own. So What have been your biggest joys? I know that, enjoying things and really looking at things from that positive point of view is very important to you. What have you found?
Well, so through this journey, I realized that the reason why I thrive into, even when I was back in corporate, I was in HR, the moments that I enjoyed most was when I was building, creating. So at heart, I'm a big creator. So whenever I feel like I have created change, either for an organization or an individual, I really feel that kind of like, I even got the goosebumps right now just saying it, because it's just really my biggest joy to see the transformation, to see the impact of the transformation. And I just want to, stop there for a second, because that's my why. The why I'm doing what I do, why I love what I do, is because I love seeing that elevation in the transformation in the person or an organization, and also understanding that how is that going to cause a ripple effect. I just simply brings me so much great juju to just see that, and that's why I love creating those opportunities, and just being able to do that is amazing.
I love that. And I think understanding the why we do things, sometimes it may seem so clear, but other times it's like very, very muddy. And that's why we need coaches, right? To help us sort
Absolutely.
of uncover that inner why. And I hear, but would love sort of like your reinforcement that that is then what motivates you to then drive that inner jefa, right? Like that inner power of and why am I doing this other than it feels good, but there's meaning, there's purpose behind it, right?
100%. And I think for many of us Latinas, we always look at our community and say, what is the impact that I want to make? What, for me, I want to, and it's so crystal clear. I was actually thinking about it this morning, and I wake up every morning and think about how I can help the community. The way I think about it is, if I can change somebody's mindset in the corporate environment or in a business environment where they manage other people, perhaps I might be able to prevent another case of workplace trauma, another case of somebody feeling less than, especially amongst us Latinas. Or maybe I can help also to change that person perspective, um, and maybe see the person, the Latina or Latino or Latinx, from a different angle. And I say, this is the way I'm going to be helping the community. And of course, I love mentoring, and I do. But we have to have those boundaries and be realistic about what we can do. So anyway, that's how I've been able to see it, and I think it's so important for us to understand that yes, we want to help, but there's more than one way of helping the community. Going back to the topic of boundaries, and sometimes we need to remind ourselves of that.
You're absolutely right. I think, and I know it happens to me. Sometimes we get so excited and so psyched about something that then we forget, we get into more than what we can handle, and then we're suffering, right? We're not. In Mexico, and I think in a lot of countries in Latin America, we say "el que mucho abarca poco
Well,
aprieta,"
Gabriela,
right? And that in a way, I mean, we end up doing it because again, we're resilient. We make things happen, but the cost
the
to
cost,
us
yeah,
is impressive,
yeah.
right? And that we need to learn to do that. So that is, I love that you mentioned that. So, as Latinas, again, if we look at the numbers, we are growing businesses at a faster rate, or creating and growing businesses at a faster rate than any other group. However, there are things that we need to be more mindful of and be more intentional. So, what do you think are Latinas' biggest assets when it comes to being individual operators, small business owners, entrepreneurs, like all of these, all of the above?
Wow, that's such a great question. Some of the biggest assets personally, I think is our ability to relate. So we're really great about cultivating and nurturing those relationships. I think it's in our DNA. Also about, again, making do with what we have and making things work. Sometimes bootstrapping as long as we can. But I think that's also a part of where we need to pay attention, because sometimes it's hard for us to ask for help or to hire help. And because, again, those are the narratives that, you can do it all. We might feel like we are going to be less than, let's say, in my case, for example, I struggle a lot at some point with hiring somebody that helps me clean the house, for example, which is going to help me in turn to free up time to dedicate to my business, or even hire a really good, let's say, VA that is going to help me free out some time, because in my head I need to do it all. So, or I was ashamed that I was not showing up as a good mom, wife, whatever, So I think that's where we need to be mindful of the kind of like the drawbacks, or how our cultura shows up in the way that is not really helpful. But as anything, we need to understand that it's a dial, and we are in the driver's seat to see how much we want to dial it in or dial it back out. It's just cultivating the awareness to do so.
I love that, what you're saying, because on the one hand, it's not about only about recognizing our the impact that our culture unconsciously can have on our beliefs and on the way that we do things,
Yeah.
right? Like, why am I going to ask somebody else to take care of my house if I'm supposed to, like, if I can do it? Or how can I ask somebody to help me with my work if I know that I can do it? On the other side, realizing that we're very relatable and that we can build those partnerships, build those groups of collaboration to be able to then help us so that we can then help. So it's sort of like you help me so that I can help you approach,
Yeah.
and being okay with it, because and this is something that I always laugh because I wasn't conscious of it before, that we always keep telling others, like, you should do this and you're strong and go ahead and say no, and like we give all of these wonderful advice that we don't do for ourselves. And it's like it's
Yes.
insane, right? It's part of the insanity that we need to just become conscious to say, okay, we should we should take a page of all of the things that we recommend.
Absolutely. And I think everybody, it's not only us. I think everybody has a hard time with walking the talk. Um, and I think one thing that I actually just reminded me. So one thing that I also think that shows up at work sometimes is that we tolerate. We tend to tolerate a lot because we feel bad. We don't want to be the mala al paseo, or we don't want to be a good, like, I don't know, buena gente, and and then we tend to tolerate, let's say, what we shouldn't be tolerating. So, for example, if you have, I had a situation with a VA where I tolerated for a long time, and I was like, why I'm tolerating this? Because it's hard for me to have these difficult conversations. And mind you, I do this for a living. Kind of like that's why you reminded me of that. but it's just one of those things that it does show up. Anyhow, I just wanted to make sure I clarify that point, because this whole conversation is just amazing.
Yes, no, I love that. And I want to come back to the word Jefa, because I love that word because of, all the things that you mentioned at the beginning, but also I think because in a way it means leader,
Yeah.
right? That's the way you say about, your
Yeah.
bosses.
Yeah.
It's sort of like another word that you use for a female boss.
Yeah.
However, from a mindset perspective, sometimes we don't see ourselves that way,
Oh my
right?
God.
We don't
So
see
true.
ourselves as leaders. We see ourselves as executors, right? And
Yeah.
I'm going to go and make things and accomplish things, and balance all of these multiple things and roles that I have in life, but we let others be the leaders and don't
Right.
realize the importance of us leading in what we do. And as a business owner, that's exactly what you need to embrace, right? You need to recognize that you're the boss of your business. Nobody is going to lead it for you.
That's
And you need to like show up in that way. But we still, to your point, we sometimes tolerate the pushing and the shoving from external
yeah.
factors and organizations and situations to tell us how to manage our business or what we should be doing with our business or what we should say yes or say no to. So how do you recommend people, especially based on your experience and what you've seen, to be able to navigate that, owning that leadership piece of it?
Absolutely. So I really believe that, and this is my own journey, and I'm gonna be talking from my perspective. I'm sure a lot of people that are watching this or might watch this later, they might have a different take. But the way I see it is, if my time has a value, and let's say I put a rate to that, and if I can have somebody else do that for a, like, let's say a lower rate, that is something that I am going to delegate, that I'm going to make sure that somebody else takes care of it. Now the other, on the other hand, also, again, I constantly ask myself, is this a task that a CEO will do? It is something that we need to be comfortable asking ourselves, because we are CEOs of our own business. Sometimes I see, business owners that are kind of like afraid of the title, and I'm like, no, we are CEOs of our business. So think like a CEO, and think about, like, okay, would a CEO be, let's say, doing the nitty gritty work, such as updating a spreadsheet, or such as, I don't know, doing some very boring research? No. The answer is no. Then that needs to be delegated. Now, some people might argue, well, I don't have the resources to delegate. Is it true, or you're not being creative enough? And that's where our inner Jefa needs to come in and say, how would my creative, I don't know, inner Jefa is going to solve this problem with what I have? Maybe I can hire an intern. Maybe I can hire a family member to do the task, or maybe I can find a way to exchange services in order to get some, to free up the time, so I can be having CEO conversations, which means business development, having those conversations in front of the people that really matter. So I believe that that's where, that's my process, but everybody might have a different take.
No, but you're right. I think asking ourselves those reflection moments, those reflection questions can help us. And I always say, we don't need to have the answer or feel that we need to have the answers
Oh,
for
yeah.
everything. We need to make the final decision, definitely,
Yeah.
but not necessarily we need to have the information to be able to make those decisions. Sometimes
Right.
it's talking to you, talking to me, talking to, other people to see how do you do it and how do you, think about this? How have you overcome that so that you can get the information? And as I hear you saying, yes, own the word CEO, like you are the CEO. It just it just makes you feel empowered, because I've struggled with that as well. Like,
Yeah.
why would I say this of myself? Or no, we can, as long as you know what it means to you and how are you showing up. So it helps talking to other people so that we can then own, going back to that growth mindset, we can own those beliefs, we can own those behaviors and those practices. I love that.
Yeah.
We're coming to the end of our cafecito. Any final like words of wisdom, Jens? Where can people find you? Anything?
Yeah. Well, but definitely people can find me on LinkedIn. And funny, like, two quick story. It took me a long time actually to call myself a CEO on LinkedIn because I was afraid of that word. But then I realized, well, I'm just overthinking it. But definitely find me on LinkedIn. That's where the majority of the conversations I'm having it. And here at United Latinas, which I'm a big fan of being in the chat. At least I check it out once a day, and all these events that you are putting together. So thank you for doing this. Other than that, I will say the final nuggets from my perspective. So I really believe that we need to understand that whatever happened in the past is not, we're in the driver's seat, and it's not means that it's going to repeat itself by itself. And we need to also trust that we are where we need to be. And I think that has been something that I struggle so much, because it's very easy to compare yourself, your journey, your own let's say point in time with what others are, even though they've been doing this for 10, 20 years, 15 years. It's just one of those things that trusting that you are in the right path, and there are going to be upside downs. This is the entrepreneurship is all about riding those waves, and knowing that you're going to be okay, and there's always a solution. So trusting the process is another, let's say, golden nugget that I personally took me a long time, and I'll be honest, sometimes are days that I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready. I continue to trust the process, but hey, you know what? When you let go of that, and that's our scarcity kind of talking, when you let go of that, it just kind of like you are in the right energy level to attract what you want, in that sense, if you believe in that.
I love that. Thank you so much for helping us embrace our inner jefa, and recognize that it's okay, that we have the power, we have the resilience, we have the energy, we have the compassion, we have the grit, we have everything to be able to do that. And very importantly, we're not alone. So thank you so much, Beatriz, for sharing your words of wisdom. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Happy Hispanic Heritage Month. Like I said, check out all of our events that we're having. For next week, we have our leadership meeting. We have a workshop on how to continue to, build our wealth. And then on October 2nd, we have our Hispanic Heritage Month virtual conference starting at noon. We have amazing speakers, so you won't want to miss that. And then locally, we're starting local chapters. So check out, there might be an event coming soon to a place near you. And if you're interested in launching a chapter, reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to help you make that happen as well. Thank you, Beatriz, for everything. And we hope you have a wonderful day wherever in the world you are.
All right.
See you next week.
See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.